This, to me, is the problem with Democrats in America right now, is we're willing to be complicit to Donald Trump to let this pass through when we have all the leverage right now there is.
An eye-popping scene on the Senate floor this past week.
Yeah, eye-popping, because he's definitely on some amphetamines. I mean, if you take a look at Booker's speeches, I mean, he's a wild character, kind of a little bit entertaining, a little bit cringe. He's got everything, right? He's got it all.
When New Jersey Senator Cory Booker lashed out at fellow Democrats who are trying to push through a series of policing bills with the support of the GOP. For months, Booker has been fighting the Trump administration, contending it is improperly withholding sizable sums of public safety funds to blue states like New Jersey to force them to adhere to the president's agenda. Booker blocked those bipartisan bills because he said they failed to protect Democratic states like his own. But there was a larger message the senator later told me was also at play.
Things got really heated this week on the Senate floor with your Democratic colleagues over these policing bills. You obviously are concerned about the impact that this would have on your state, but you're really also trying to send a larger message to your party about how to fight back against Trump, are you not?
First of all, I will always defend New Jersey police officers and getting them the resources they deserve. But you're right, there is a larger message, not to Democrats, but to Americans. This is a president that's trashing our Constitution, and as a result, in this case, it's indicative of a lot of things we're seeing here. Cutting people's health care, cutting key grants for public safety, cutting resources for hungry children. It is outrageous what's going on.
Here's what you guys have to understand. Like, if you're not in the mix, if you're not like trying to consume different type of media, and you hear this guy and you listen to what he's saying over and over and over again, it's a lot of conjecture, right? Allowing kids to starve, destroying the Constitution, not supporting law enforcement. What the hell is he talking about? Right? So, I mean, if I'm a reporter and he talks about like kids starving, I would say, excuse me, Senator, what are you talking about? Can you give me an example of that? Can you help me out? Because as far as I know, we had an obesity epidemic in this country, right? The majority of our poor is overweight and dying because, the food they're eating is absolute garbage. It's super high in caloric intake and not nourishing to the body. So I thought that we had a different kind of issue, but they just say these things, right? And now you have the things that they're saying. They do have a line of, there's some sort of truth that they can point to if they're asked a question, right? Very very surface level. Right, it's a surface level understanding. So when he said, kids starving or whatever, he's talking about that, that the Social Security stuff was cut. They cut employment there for the policy, so that maybe there aren't that many people that are providing Social Security benefits to individuals, and that can cause a whatever % increase in people that are not getting benefits. I'm sure that he can justify the statements that he's making. Right. But again, that's a surface level understanding of the issue. Right. OK, yeah, sure. If you cut money from an organization, then the downstream effect is going to be something. Something's going to happen there. Right. Maybe you fire federal employees and now you're claiming that you firing those employees now they can't feed their children or whatever it is. Right. There's always some stupid justification for whatever these people say. But that's why you have to, you got to I feel sorry for the people that this is all they consume, right? Because they're just in this world, this massive world, and they're just blinded. They're totally blue pilled, right? They're living in the matrix. They're living in a false reality, and until you can pull yourself out of it, which I'm glad that I've done a while ago, that you're not going to be able to see what's really going on. Right, you're not going to be able to see what's going on. If you guys can hit the subscribe button, it really helps me out a lot. That's all I ask. Just subscribe, done, free, no problem. Let's see what Mr. Booker has to say right now.
We're cutting the Constitution and hurting people, and we've got to stand and fight. How far are we going to let him go until we draw a line and say, I don't care where it is, on the floor of the Senate, within our communities, we're going to stand a fight against this authoritarianism?
Do you worry that cutting deals with him on a bipartisan basis will embolden him?
Well, I'm all for cutting bipartisan deals that are going to help people and solve problems. I'm still involved in bills right now that are moving. I was a co-sponsor of some of these bills. We should do that. But when Donald Trump passes an executive order that undercuts those bills and says, wait a minute, I have the power now to decide which states and which cities get these grants, and I'm going to exclude all of New Jersey, all of New York, all of California, all of Washington. That should be unacceptable to everyone.
It should be unacceptable to everyone if they were doing their part, right? And the biggest part and the biggest issue is not cooperating with ICE. Let's be clear. If you have a state, city, run law enforcement agency and you're not allowing them to cooperate with ICE, you're part of the problem. And yes, you should be pressured into cooperating. Like, I don't understand how you could just get away with not cooperating with federal law. The law is what it is. If you don't like it, petition the government to change it. But as of right now, if somebody's illegal, you should be cooperating with ICE to help the effort to identify them and, if need be, deport them. Right? And if you're not going to do that, and if you're going to facilitate or basically order your officers and your personnel to say you are not allowed to cooperate with ICE, or you're going to face whatever penalties, right? As I know, very well that, all the counties in New York, they do not cooperate with ICE. They're not allowed to. And so what ends up happening is these guys will get locked up for whatever reason. And what ends up happening is they get released back into the community. ICE is not notified. ICE, they might know that they got locked up, right? But they're not aware when they're being released, and they don't facilitate a transfer over, creating a massive, massive problem.
And for your party more specifically, I'm wondering how you see the way forward for your party. You've seen public opinion polls. The Democratic brand is worse than the Republican brand in several polls. One, how much does that concern you? And two, what do you have to do to regain credibility as Democrats with voters?
So Democrats will lose credibility if they're concerned about the Democratic Party. Democrats will gain credibility when we're concerned about the American people. I love this about my caucus. When the doors are closed and the 47 of us are in a room, the conversation isn't about the party. It's about how are we going to fight for health care? How are we going to fight against all the firings of veterans? How are we going to fight against these tariffs that are raising costs? To focus on people and let the politics take care of itself, because this is a time where
firing veterans, fighting tariffs. I don't. Again, there's never a follow-up. Right, there's never a follow-up. Okay, what veterans are being fired? And if it's a veteran in the VA administration or whatever that's doing a job, how can we, people, like, if they're entitled to services or retirement or whatever, that's fine. I just have an issue with just saying we're just going to employ people just because, which it seems like that's a vast that's a big problem with the federal government, right? I've said it many, many times. We're over 2 million, 2 point whatever, 5, it fluctuates between 2 million and 2.5 million employees in the federal government. We're the largest employer on the planet. Like, how is that sustainable? How is that good? Are we getting our money's worth? When's the last time you had an interaction with a federal employee, right? I mean, think about it. When's the last time you had an interaction with a federal employee? What are they doing? What's going on there? All right, you get your tax return and stuff like that. The majority of that's handled by your personal accountant. It goes through, a computer figures it out and spits out a check. I mean, why do we have all these federal employees? It's because they're doing a lot of things that they were not intended to do. They're doing a lot of things that the government has no business doing. Department of Education, perfect example, right? I think that was founded in 1979. If you ask anyone pre-79 how their education was, hell of a lot better than it is today. What does that mean? But what people don't understand is that the majority of people, they don't understand that. And they think that, well, we have education because of the Department of Education. And we can't not have a Department of Education, not knowing that we spend the majority of our history not having that. That's a state issue. That's a local issue. That's a town issue. What does the federal government have anything to do with how a small town in rural Tennessee educates their children? Right? If the state has implemented a system and they know what they want, right? That means the local people have voted that in. That's a system that they want to have, and they should be allowed to have that. Federal government has no business in that. A bloated bureaucracy with money just being pumped into it, and almost nothing coming out of it.
Declining trust in all of elected leadership. And I think the way you earn trust and build trust is to show that you're willing to stand and you're willing to fight.
Are you worried that there's not enough that's happening right now in your party?
I'm going to continue to do what leadership is. Leadership is not a title or a position. It is action and example.
Action and example. All he does is grandstand. Let's be honest, right? All he does is take whatever he takes to stay awake for 36 hours, go up there, probably pissing in a diaper. And, I'm sure you guys saw the last spectacle that he did on the floor, right? He just stood up there and I don't know, he was like reading books or something like that for over a day. It's ridiculous.
What I want to see more people doing is not doing what some law firms have done, bend the knee to Donald Trump. Not doing what some universities have done, bend the knee to Donald Trump. We see major corporations who want some merger approval, not standing up on principle, but bending the knee to Donald Trump. That to me is outrageous. History is going to remember these people for their complicity in what is a guy that's going to severely try to undermine our government, who already incited a riot on our Capitol. This is a moment in history where people are going to ask, where did you stand? Did you bow to an authoritarian leader, or did you stand strong and fight?
I'm wondering if part of the issue with your party, do you think, is not embracing enough of the energy on the left flank of your party? You're seeing what's happening in your neighboring state in New York. Zoran Mamdani, he's the Democratic candidate, Democratic Socialist candidate there. Democratic leaders are not supporting him. Is that a problem? Do you support him?
So you and I are going to have this conversation, and I'm going to say to you one day, I told you so. This is not a left-right issue. It really isn't. It is an authoritarian versus people who want pragmatic government.
He had to skirt the issue there. You saw that, right? It's a very easy, it's a very easy political trick. Once you're in this game for a while, you kind of figure that out. He does not want to say that he's for Mamdani, right? Socialist, democratic socialist, whatever the hell. He's just socialist, all right? That's what that means. A democratic socialist is a socialist that, I don't know, takes off on Sundays. He can't say he supports him, right? Because even as liberal and as lefty as he is, right, he still understands that, one, he has political aspirations, right? He's going to run for president. He's not going to come close, but that's in mind, right? So he can't have that soundbite. All of these people, with the exception of Trump, and this is why he's fantastic, right? Trump puts his mistakes out there. He says what he says. A lot of times it's not perfect. He's not worried about the soundbite. This guy's worried about the soundbite to be used in the future. Everything that he says is a calculation. Right? Everything he says is done through the prism of, okay, well, certain part of the population may not like this. This might be used later on in my political career. How can this affect me? Blah, blah, blah. Everything is done through that prism. And that you can't get truth out of people like that. It's impossible because the calculations are constantly being made.
Government that makes a difference in the lives of American people. I'm one of these people that says the lines that divide us in America are not nearly as strong as the ties that bind us. Big corporations, people want to keep our eyes on the screen, want to pit us against each other and tell us how much we should hate each other. I'm sorry. The left-right lens is not the right lens to look at this right now. Right now it is, can we get back to the pragmatic work of governing?
Mamdani, are you going to support him?
I have learned a long time ago. Let New York politics be New York politics. We got enough challenges in Jersey. I got to govern.
That means no. That means no. Because he's taking the temperature and he doesn't know which way it's going to go. That's the fact, right? They cannot put themselves out there ever, right? Because of the political backlash that they can take if Mamdani doesn't get in, or if he does get in and he does a horrible job. Everything is calculation. Everything. It doesn't mean that Trump doesn't calculate his steps also. He definitely does. But when it comes to Trump is like a podcaster, right? When it comes to his ideas, for the most part, obviously there's a lot of shit he can't say, but for the most part, you're going to get what's rolling around in the brain, right? And that's super refreshing. And it's also really good because you just know, listen, the guy's talking. He's saying what he thinks. Obviously, there's a lot of things he can't say or whatever, but on the whole, you know that when Trump says something, that you for the most part are getting his authentic thoughts.
Governor's race. I'm supporting Mikey Sherrill. I got legislative races. That's where my energy is going to go going into November. New York City, I love you. You're my neighbor. You're about 10 miles from where I live. You guys figure out your elections. I'm going to focus on mine.
Just on the issue of policing, because that was an issue of, obviously, part of the issue that you fought on the floor about. You've been really involved on that issue. Mamdani had just got a tweet from earlier this that's gotten surfaced, gotten a lot of attention this week about defunding the police. That's from a few years ago. Are statements like that still problematic for your party?
I think, again, I'm going to speak for Jersey. Newark, New Jersey, a majority black city, 5 days after the George Floyd incident. If you had polled my city and said you want more police, less police for the same amount of police, Newark would have overwhelmingly voted for more police. We don't want police violating our rights. We don't want police endangering our lives. But we want safety and security. It's the fundamental foundation of Maslow's pyramid. We want to have security in our community, and the police are part of that, an essential part of that equation. So anybody who's saying defund the police is wrong, and within the Democratic Party or within the nation, I will always fight that we have well-funded, well-trained, and highly accountable, high professional standard police departments that control us. But I will say this, by not investing in mental health. Remember, Donald Trump took a bipartisan bill, the first gun bill in 35 years, where we, in a bipartisan way, funded grants for mental health, because Republicans are always saying when there's a mass shooting, well, we need to deal with mental health. Well, we did it. Those grants were going to New Jersey, and what did Donald Trump do? He froze them all.
You're obviously very concerned about Republicans maintaining control of the United States House and Senate. There's this effort in Texas.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's Cory Booker. You know, he is what he is. But again, I just look at him as he's a chameleon. He's shifting. He was a big defund the police guy. Let's be honest with you, right? But now he sees midterms coming up. He sees 2028 coming up. He sees all of the things where he has to start pivoting and saying that he grew or whatever, or start the usual political spiel. And that's what he's morphing into now, right? He's morphing into, he cannot already, because of what's the election season coming up, he cannot lean on the far left, right? He's already, these are all calculations. Look at the Chiron right there, the midterms. That's what they're thinking about. They're thinking about midterms. They're already running towards the center, towards the middle, a little bit, right? They can't say they're a socialist. They can't say they're defund the police. They have to come across to the other side, even though they were espousing this for years, right? For years, because when it comes to a primary, they run to the left, and then they have to scale it in. Cory Booker probably knows he probably already has. I don't think he's going to be primary. I don't know. I'll take a look. But as far as like what he needs to do to get reelected, he has to get that center coalition back together, right? And that's the strategy right now. And you can see it as clear as day, and everything that he's saying and what the reporter's pushing. The reporter's trying to get an answer out of him. I don't think he answered a single question this guy asked him directly, right? Because they never do. They can't. Everything has to be a calculation. Everything has to be something that's been crowdfunded. Everything has to be something that was, ran through different people to see what words sound the best, what's polling the best, what's tested that can get me the least amount of backlash and the biggest bang for my buck. That's what they do. That's what they all do. Guys, thanks a lot for coming out. 6283 Talk on the X. You follow me there. Hit the subscribe button. It really helps me out a lot. I'm John Soto. See you later. Peace out.